All right, folks, we're back at it. We're gonna talk. We do a quick review of what we covered last, and we're gonna get into if-then statements in a big way in today's lesson. So there's two types of programming errors. We're just gonna talk about syntax and logic errors. They have some more categories, but that's what we're talking about. Syntax errors. You're missing a semicolon, bracket. You just didn't type something quite right. But usually once you can find it, it's easy to fix and the program runs. Logic errors on the other hand, the program runs, but it does what you told it to do, but that's not what you wanted it to do. So those tend to be a little more challenging. A great tool for detecting that is the print line, because it can use that to tell you what your variables are. We talked about how in this example the circle would show up and go right off the screen to the left, so it really wouldn't appear. But by adding print line circle x, you can see the value was negative. Negative x, well, that's a problem. That's going to be off the screen, so that explains it. So the minute you made it print 2, change it from -2 to 2, it went to there. And then that's how you made the circle full. That's how you made the circle small. Talked about moving in both directions. That's where you had a circle x and a circle y with a random number from 0 to 2. Remember we talked about variables in the past. Float just got a decimal point. So we didn't get into conditional statements. That's if-then, and that's really important. There's a logic that allows us, if it's warm outside, leave your coat behind. If not, take your coat. If you have hamburgers today, you're going to buy hamburger buns. If you're not going to have a hamburger bun today, then don't. So it's an if-then statement. All right, so there's three parts so you really think about it. Here's the if statement, and it has the two curly brackets that enclose everything inside. The Boolean expressions, usually between that, right inside there, it's usually a greater than, less than, or equal to. You get lines of code. So some of those relationship expressions are, less than, greater than, less than, equal to, greater than, equal to. This is this equal to something, and this is not equal. So ball speed's greater than 100, do whatever in that line of codes. Ball speed in this case is just a variable. And your lines of code. All right, so we talked about that. So if you have a mouse X, remember mouse X is system variables. So you move my mouse around, you can see that's what it is right there. Make a program that turns white until the mouse reaches 240, then black. And then we went through that. We did a mouse click, so it would go back and forth. And to do that, we're really almost using like a flag on this, all right? So what I wanted you to see on this is there is a flag, and I set that up as a variable 1 or 2. And at the very top, you can't see it here, but it would have said flag is equal to 1 somewhere here. So flag is equal to 1, so it would have been flag equal 1. It could have been integer flag 1, right? You don't need to be a float, int. All right, so then let me go up here. So if it's equal to 1, then background's 250, set flag to 0. And then it loops back up. It says else, make flag background 50, flag to -1. So if this is true, do this. Otherwise, do that. Notice I've switched the flag. If it says it's 1, make it 0. And if it's not 0, make it back to 1. Then print flag, and you can see 0 and 1s from when the flag was printing. So it flips back and forth. And so that flag is in there. We use a way of flipping it. So in this case, let's say again, I click on the mouse. The flag, first time I run through it, is 1, so it sets the background to 250. Then it says flag is 0. Then the whole thing loops around and prints out what flag is, which would be a 0. Then it comes back up. It says, is flag 1? No, it's not. So it slips down to here and says, oh, make background 50, make flag 1. Then it comes back up again. Is flag 1? Yes, it is. Make background 250, flag 0. So it flips it back and forth. All right? All right. This one, you made a circle, go from one side all the way over to the other side, returns back to the left side. I will go in and get one right here so you can see the code. All right, let's go up here. Sketch, let's go to Sketchbook. And we're going to go to random call. Let me see if I can find this here. Sorry, it might be under where I have the other ones too, so hang on one second. Yeah, okay, so what I gotta do is go here. So let me go back up here. File, open, sorry folks. Oh boy. Let's go to desktop. Go to processing. All right, there it is. Now, so what this does, here's what it runs, so you can see this. See how it goes back and forth? And it goes there, but then it comes right back to here. So what's going on in there? Well, make that code by doing this. It's avoid circle X, so that's X and Y, so I designed that variable circle X. I liked it. Psi 640, 640X by Y 360. Background 50, so you're making the background. Then you have fill and you're making your ellipse circle X. You remember that? It starts at 0, 180, so that's where it starts, and it's this size. If circle X is less than 640, that's this value here, circle X equals circle X plus 5. I put a print in there so I'd see what circle X is. Else, so if it's greater than 6, so it's 614 or higher, and I got that backwards. No, actually, there's a reason I chose 614, I'll mention in a second. But then it resets circle X back to 25, and that's what causes this thing. So what it's doing, it's going all the way over here. And then once it gets close to 614, it says set X back to here, and it brings it right back across. Now, another point on that I want you to see on this is I didn't go right to 640. I considered the diameter of the circle when I was pulling it back. All right, so there it is. So we got the ball going across. All right. Hopefully that answers it, and the screen's up here for you to see it if you had a problem getting it done last time. Okay. Now, let's talk about conditional statements more. Let's just talk about this situation here. So you've got a variable integer. There's some capitalization here that's not right. This is almost pseudocode. I'm just trying to describe it. Don't worry, this would not run. But I just want you to think. So what's going to happen? I have integer box 15. So the variable box is 15. If box 5 is greater than 5, which by the way it is, we just said it's 15, box is red. If box is 10, box is green. What would happen? Well, here's what would happen. Because this is like its own if statements, first one would be red, but then it would immediately go green because in both these cases are true. All right? But watch what happens when you do it this way. If box 5, box is red. Else if box 10, box is green. Next bit of code. What would happen if you ran that program? It would be red. It would not be green, because what this does when you nest this if and else if, and then there's another one called else you can go to, it just tests one of those three. And the first one that comes true, it does it and then takes you out of it. We're going to do some code here in a minute. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But there is a difference between if. You just don't want to do ifs and ifs. If you want to just, let me get This allows both things to happen. This only allows one thing to happen with that else if. So you could even go so far as this. Box is 15, box is red, box is green, box is blue. So let's look at what will happen with each one of these values. 15, the box is going to be red. 10, well, it's not red and red, it's going to be green. All right? Does that make sense? And then it's just going to jump out. If it's 5, well, it's not 5, it's greater than 5. It's going to be blue, and any other answer, the box is blue. All right? All right, so I'm in here. I just jumped down the wrong one. Also, I just want you to see this double ampersand is and, the top slash lines here make or. You find that like right under my delete key on my Mac. So you can ask things like this. If Mr. Mr. D, older than dirt, or it's Tuesday, he gets a deal at the Golden Corral. Whereas, and, if you had it, if Mr. O, so let's go next one. If I said, and Mr. D is older, Mr. D has to be older than dirt, and it's Tuesday, he goes to corral. So and tends to narrow your expressions, ors tend to expand it. Because this could be true, or this is true, I get to go to Golden Corral. If it's an and, this has to be true, and this has to be true. All right? There's a whole, you start getting in these logic tables. It's pretty amazing stuff. Last thing, let's talk about Boolean variable. Boolean variable is either true or false, 0 or 1. It's that kind of thing. It's kind of like that flag I just showed you a little bit. If flag is true, then do this code, make the flag false. Next time it loops through, is flag true? Nope, it's false. Then do this code, make the flag true. A lot of times we like Boolean variables as a switch like that. Okay? Now, we're going to write our first program. So let's go ahead, get out your code, and I'm going to give you a few seconds here to go ahead and start on this, and then you can pause it and start it back up. 1, 2, 3. All right. And this one, we're going to make a color fade when you put your mouse over it. So I'm going to bring this up and show you how it looks. And that's what 15. All right, let's see what color fade looks like. All right, now this time I do know these are up in my sketch. Let's see, open up recently. Let's see if it has 15. Yeah, wait a minute, no. I'm going to go ahead and open Sketchbook here. All right, let's just do this. Color fade. So here's the code right here as well. And in fact, I'm going to go ahead and run it right here. So see, you can see it right now. If I hold my mouse over it, see how it changes colors? Gets really bright. Go down on the left side, it starts to darken. Ooh. Ooh. All right. So let's talk about what's happening there. Yeah, we got a variable, red, green, blue, R150, 0, 0. Void setup, that makes the size of this window right over here. Now, we're going to draw stuff in here. Wow, really thing. Background. By the way, give the credit to the gentleman. I almost always give through in the beginning of this. Let's go back up here. I want to make sure we give him due credit. I'm getting this code from this guy, Daniel Schiffman. I'm using his book too. It's a good book. I highly recommend it when you're in college. If you got to do programming and they have you use this, get his book. It's a good book. We can't go into half the things he goes into. All right, so now, all right, so we have that over here. We just showed you a minute what's going on. So background is RGB. That's just giving you colors right there. Strokes 255. That's the outside of this, remember? And then line width. And width is really that value, 480. Height, that's 270. You can divide those by 2. And you've got width, height. All right, so these are for the lines. So width 2 is half the distance, 0. Width 2, and then height of this thing. So you get these lines. If the mouse is on the right side of the screen, it's equivalent to if the mouse is greater than the width divided by 2, so the halfway point. So if mouse is greater than width 2, or you could have done mouse greater than 240, add 1 to R, else subtract 1 from R. Then you go down there. If R is greater than 255, so that's going to change R. See the values for R? And we use those right here for the background. So you're changing R right there. If it's greater than 255, R is 255, else R is 0. If R is less than 0, you make it 0. So you're always trying. You don't want it to go above 255 because remember, it can only go to 255. You'll get an error message. So the way to catch that, one of the ways, and we'll show you another way in a moment, is just say, hey, if it's greater than 255, make it 255. If it's greater than, less than 0, keep it to 0. And again, we run that program. I hope you ran it. It's right here again. Let's run it. There it is. See how it's getting brighter and brighter? All right. So that's one thing I wanted you to see because the size of it. Right over here. Right over here. Here. That's a pretty cool program, I thought. Okay. Now this is a long program. It's still a pretty neat one. I'm going to go ahead and bring up the code. I do want you to see what's going to be different when you type in this one. It's called a constraint. That just says it constrains those variables to always stay between 0 and 255. So R constrain, R equals constrain, R comma 0 comma 255. So it's saying constrain based on this variable R, a value between 0 and 255, and assign that to R. We do that with green and we do it with blue. This basically always makes sure your color values are going to stay between 0 and 255. Because if they go negative or they go above that, the program will get an error and stop running. Or at the very least won't behave the way you expect or want it to. So let me go ahead and pull this one out. We might be able to see the code a little bit better here too. I want you to see it. So let's go here. File, open recent. Now let's go advanced. All right, here it is. It's all its beautiful glory. I'm just going to leave it up here for a few minutes. I'm going to count 1, 2, 3. You don't necessarily, before you pause, 2, if you go in there, you can write the comments. That's the slash line. It's something that'll help your memory on this. And remember, if you got an iPad or something and it'll say width or height ever don't work, that's width, and that's the system variable height. Mouse X is system variable on your phone, excuse me, from your mouse when it moves back and forth. And here's the constraints. That was something. All right, constraints limit your value between 0 and whatever value you set it to. See how it's blue? And if I hold my mouse down, it starts to go green to it. I'm going to go back to the program. So it's a pretty cool program. Right? All right. Now I'm going to go back here. So you can see it. Let's take a few seconds. I'm just going to pause and let you do it. All right. Now, you've done that program. Let's go to the next little thing we're going to do. All right. All right. So we just did that. Now we're going to look at conditional statements and continued conditional statements. And we're looking at this. And I want to drive home again that if. So in this case, watch what's going to happen when we run this program. So this is going to be, all right, so I'm going to go back up here. and you're going to see something that's going to happen. I want you to figure out, look at my code right here. In fact, take a moment before we do it. In fact, I'd rather you type the code. Go ahead, take the time, do the code right there. I'll count to 3. All right. Hopefully you've gotten the code in. Let's go back in here. Let's go over here to 16. Now watch what happens in this. When I move here, all right, let's go back and look at the code. Why is it both red and green staying up? Okay, so I'll go back over here and look at my code. Because here's why. 640 by 360, mouse is greater than 100, draw that rectangle. And then it goes down the next thing. Is mouse greater than 200? Oh, then it draws that rectangle. So it keeps, it tests for each condition. But sometimes you just want it to test for one condition. You only want it to test for 1, 2, or 3 of the other, right? So really use if, else if, and then else. We'll get to that in a minute. All right, I'm going to pull up the next one. All right, so this would be else if. Basically the same kind of program, but watch what happens now. All right, well, okay, Mr. Dubik, that's great. But I at least sometimes saw the green one here. No, I'm not even seeing the green one. Well, but I am getting the red one, but Lord goodness, what's going on? Well, let's go back and look at that. What this is saying, if mouse 100, go ahead and draw it red. Else if mouse greater than 200, go ahead and draw it green. So it's saying if that's true, do this. Else if mouse is 200, so what it's doing is it's never cleaning the screen off, and it's always getting above 100. So the minute it gets to 100, it does this. It never gets a chance to test for else if, and it jumps right out. So it can never get to 200 unless we brought it from the left over. Now let's try the next, what we should have done. File, sketchbook now. So that's else if. Now here's what we've got here, 18. All right, now let's see what we've done. We've made our values higher. We do the higher value first, 300, then 200, and I actually added a third one. There wasn't before, and that's the blue one, or that's the red one. 200 is the green one, and 300 is what one is that? Once you think about it, you tell me, looking at the fill, what that would most likely be then. If you said 50, 0, 0, 50, it's blue because it's red, green, blue, you'd be right. This is green, this is red. All right? And then if you don't pick any of them, you have a fill that in between those two colors. And then these are just the stroke lines that go in there. Okay? See if you can get this program to work, please. Go ahead, run that program, play with it, change the colors a little bit, mess it up the way you want it to be. 1, 2, 3. So we just talked about the constraints. Now, so those are the 3, and we just, again, else if, else collects anything else. It's like garbage. Whatever None of the other things are true. You have that else statement to default to. And your else statement might be, please click and, click on the lift. It might be directions to your users. They've done something weird. Uh, when I was first teaching at Latin, I also made databases using computer code and all that. And we always used to put errors in there because I would to test each other's stuff. I would immediately, like if it asked for your first name, last name, I'd type numbers in there and see if that would break it. You go through and you do all these things to try to break it. And that else statement is one of the ways of collecting it. So if somebody puts something weird in there, it doesn't bring your program down. Okay, so let's go over here. So that was the conditional statement there. Now we're going to try this one. This is kind of a wild one. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up for you. Not wild. Wild's the right word. Okay. All right. This is rollover. It's going to look like this. It's going to come back in a minute. I want you to do this. Bonus is, can you make it so when you click on over this, well, I'm thinking of a game right offhand, where if you clicked on that, it would immediately, instead of just rolling over, could you do a mouse click on this? I don't know. There's no bonus. I was just thinking out loud. All right. Take 3 seconds. Go ahead and make that work. 1001, 1002, 1003. Now, I'm come back to it. Hopefully you made it work, but also hopefully down here, let's explain what was going on there. Mouse X, that's your mouse pointer, less than 244, and mouse Y less than 135. Draw this rectangle, 0, 0, 250, Else if mouse X is greater than 240 and mouse Y is less than 135, so greater than 240, less than 135, do this rectangle 240, 0, 240, 135. All right? All right. And we got each one of these. Okay? All right. Hopefully that made sense. So we can have in our if-then statements that and kind of thing, where it's and or it could have been an or. In this case, you needed the mouse X to be less than 240 and mouse Y to be less than 135 in that very first line of code. Okay. Now, what I would like to see you do is do this bouncing ball. This ball, all right, goes back and forth. So let me show you what this does. Well, better yet, that would be the right way to go. All right, let's go to Sketchbook, Tom. Why are you even bothering there? Watch one come over here. Oh, this actually. Even I can leave comments out. See how the ball's going across? Not sure bouncing is the right word. But there it is. Oh, wait a minute, it bounced back. Oh no. Oh, it bounced back that way. Okay. One piece of your homework tonight. Go ahead and make the ball bounce up and down in the vertical. I want the ball to bounce up and down in the vertical. That's your homework. Make the ball bounce in the vertical. Okay? Now, another sweet one is gravity. All right. So this one's going to actually track like a square. So watch this one. We'll get to gravity in a moment. Got ahead of myself a little bit there. See a little ball going around there? It's kind of cool. Well, I'm easily amused. Probably a little bit of each. All right, so it's going on over there. Here's the first, the void setup. I couldn't get it all on there. Location is square. A lot of explanations of what it's doing there. Could you get it as you're doing this, just typing this, could you make it so it changed colors depending which part of this was on and which side of this? So here's the rest of the code of this. That's spinning along and along. So here's void draw, background display, stroke, fill. All right. If the state is 0, move to the right. If state is 0, right, that's well, x equals x plus speed. Well, you can start setting up the speed. Where did that variable come from? There's speed. You can change that variable. We like variables for things like this. We really don't like magic numbers, one thing. Then if x speed, x width minus 10, then x equals width minus 10, state is now 1. The state is 1, do this. And that's what you keep doing. You keep changing the state so this thing just keeps running. Let me see, bring it back over here. Over. So this is state 0, 1, 2. This is state 3, and that's what's telling it to run right alongside it. All right? So I'm going to give you a few seconds to go ahead and get this thing to work. I would challenge you. We had the ball bounce up and down. My second challenge, as this thing goes around, change the color of it. Change the color of the square, of the rectangle. All right? Could you do that? So that's the second challenge there for you. All right. 1, 2, 3. Now we're going to go down to the last. I think we're getting close. Yeah, almost. All right. Now we're going to use gravity, which really kind of comes out and really, this is another pretty sweet program. It's got a nice dampening, what's called a dampening effect to it. So let me do this. All right. Here we go. Now watch. As it falls, so that's what we're looking for. So here is the code right there. And here's the code here. All right. I'm going to give you plenty of time to work on that. Again, you don't have to quite write out as many comments, as big comments on that. Okay? All right. Final thing. Look at that fine smiley face. All right? So there it is. Watch when you run the program. Well, let's run the right. Well, let's go back and write in the right program. Oh, come on, Tom. Look at that. Ooh. Eyes are following me. And, whoa, lasers. You can never have too many lasers. All right, remember those two things I wanted you to do? I want you to get the ball to fall vertically, not horizontally. And I want you to change the color of that square as it goes around the rectangle, as I mentioned. All right, everybody, have yourselves a great day. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.